Good morning and welcome to this devotion. I'm back. I'm George Fuller, pastor of Window Christian Church. I'm back from a long visit to visit my son and his family in Scotland. And I think I'm getting mostly over jet lag this morning, but I'm glad to be here with you guys. Be back. I really appreciate Virginia covering the devotions the last couple of weeks. It's really nice to be away and know things are being covered and done well and done by people who genuinely love the Lord and love the people they minister to. And so I'm glad to be back. So many friends are reconnecting and that's been nice. Today we're looking at the chapter in the book that's titled Prayer, Finding the Heart's True Home by Richard Foster. We're looking at the chapter called The Prayer of the Heart. And I think it's very fitting as I was rereading that chapter in my prayer time this morning, that we come back to something that we can actually come back to anytime we want. And it's basically at the beginning, a question, and at the end, one of the biggest, I would say the biggest blessing of human life. The beginning is a question. Who, what do you love? Who, what do you love? Not only with some passion, but who or what do you love the most? Jesus was very clear. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve God and wealth. You can't seek to be secure in the wealth of this world. You can't seek to be secure in how the systems of power and money support you, and then at the same time say that you want to be secure in God. Because God will always reorganize and reprioritize our relationship with what we have so that you can be the Son of God, be purely following God and in the perfect will of God and die without anything on a cross. And you can, serving God faithfully, end up founding and starting a business or keeping faithful in a job or raising a crop as a farmer or doing all the things that we do and genuinely loving our life and our world, because we have a security that comes not from how we maintain our power or how we maintain our wealth, but how we share life with God primarily, with others. And so the initial question in the prayer of the heart is really, what do you love? What do you long for? And Richard Foster in the book points out that often what we're facing off with in our lives when we're going to God in prayer, asking for certain outcomes, asking for certain things to change, is that if we don't watch it, we'll end up worrying, and the worry will tell us what we need to know. Worry will tell us that what we're most concerned about, what we most desire, what we most long for, are these outcomes that are in the hands of other people, in the hands of a global economy or a local economy or a household or a parent or a spouse or someone else who's deciding if we have a good day or not, have a good life or not. And when we move our greatest love, answering that first question, what is our greatest love, to anyone other than God, then we find ourselves frustrated. And we'll even feel abandoned by God because we think God is obligated to give us our first love, and it's not God himself. And I've learned that when I can remember it, I've learned that when someone gives you their attention, when someone gives you their love, when someone gives you their service, when someone shows up, that's what they can give you. And if I have expectations that they don't meet, in other words, they don't show up the way I want them to or do what I think would the best to do, if that's my condition, then I'm not receiving the gift of who they are. So they actually give me the gift of themselves, and I can receive that and realize that that person has indeed loved me. Do we, at this first question, do we in our hearts this morning, or as you're watching this later, do we really want the love of God, the presence of God, the life of God? And do we want that more than anything else? The prayer of the heart is part of finding out that what we desire most, we will work to get. And the beauty is that Jesus said, if you seek it first, if you knock first on that door, if you ask first for that blessing, then as Jesus said, how much more would God not give the Holy Spirit to the children who ask? And so on the other end is the best thing you could ever get, and the prayer of the heart points us there, is that we can actually seek God and find God. And inside the love of God, we can then not only discover the security of being loved by God, but we can then be transformed into people who are better at loving. I asked myself the question, George, if you could have the one thing you love the most, and then when you get the one thing you love the most, that one love teaches you how to love everything else and creates a harmony in your life that is perfect, is not perfect in precision, but perfect in maturity and fullness. You could have a good, full life if you would love that one reality, that one person, that one God, and that God would teach you how to love everything else and everyone else. Would you like to do that? And the quick answer is always, well, of course. But the test comes this morning. The test comes when we slow down, when we breathe deep and pause, notice our feelings, our anxieties, what's worrying us, what's bothering us, and what are we going to demand as the answer to our anxieties. And if the demand in answer to our anxieties is that other people change and circumstances change, and we can't be at peace until that happens, then we have decided to find a peace that is rational and understandable and also unattainable. And we've traded it in for the peace that passes understanding, for a love that's secure in this life and beyond, for a relationship that cannot be broken, and traded it in for relationships that are on and off regularly. I was just reminded of that in my own trip to Scotland and spending a couple of weeks in a small house, 7 people, 1 bathroom, not able to get out much. We did make 3 or 4 outings that were really great, but most of our time was spent inside of a little house with the drizzling rain outside. And we were together in ways that asked the question over and over again, are you going to be together well? Are you going to cooperate and share? And the 3 children would get in fusses. And the lesson God was teaching me in the midst of that was, George, look at them doing what humans are doing all over the world right now. They can't share their space well, and look how they're fighting, and they're in the same family. And when they're calm, they love each other. When they're calm, they share. When they're calm, they actually will do favors for each other and play well and enjoy playing together. But when they're anxious, they're tattletelling and poking at each other and spurring on fusses and fights. And so the adults around, are the ones who would intervene and put things back in order and calm things down. And my thought is, well, there you go, George. That's the way it is. If you forget that you are all in this one love and stop focusing on how to cooperate and help one another, you'll demand your way. You'll change the rules to the games you're playing because you don't want to lose. That happens a few times. You demand that your activity be the one everybody does. So it was good. It was enlightening. And this morning I was able to sit down and be here with you guys in this time and be reminded that when we together seek God and the one love that incorporates everything in all of us, we really can love one another. We really can not only have what our heart's biggest and deepest need and desire is, which is God, God's self, this Jesus Christ who loves us, but we can also have relationships with one another that are more an expression of that very love. And we can give our lives to one another. Tammy and I are part of supporting an effort to house some refugees. And it's just a reminder that there are some people in desperate straits trying to get out of terrible situations. and they're looking for a place to land. And I would just remind us that every time our souls get desperate and we don't feel like we're at home anymore, and we have to emotionally leave the space we're in, that we would go and look for a place that welcomes us and houses us and fills our souls with love and peace, and that is to God himself. So I hope that for myself and for you. And I hope that the prayer of the heart, which he says starts with a prayer of the lips, then becomes a prayer of the mind, and then becomes a prayer of the hope, that we would right now say, I want to love God more than anything. And then begin to think about what it would mean with our mind to love God more than anything. And then with our hearts, give ourselves to God more than anything or anyone. May it be so. Amen.